Hello and welcome to the Foxcatcher Review. My name's Julian Bellis, joined as always up in Sydney by Nick Ashman. Bit of rain about, and then Brisbane obviously got called off. We've got the Fred Best, I think, coming up this Wednesday. The two Group 1s go to Oaks Day next Saturday, staying at Eagle Farm. So there's a bit happening.
And a lot of debate on social media just for a change about whether or not they should have run the Kingsford Smith maybe a bit beforehand to give those horses that want to go to the Stradbroke a bit more time. So I feel like they're on a hiding to nothing in Queensland. If they had done it a different way, other people would have complained. So got a feel for them. They've lost a few meetings in recent times with a lot of wet weather in that southeast Queensland. Up here in Sydney or down here, if you're in Queensland from Sydney, up here from your territory, Mr. Valance.
Yes.
It was wet it was a wet track, but we had lovely weather and I thought the track intel was pretty spot on here at Rosehill.
Let's get with Rosehill, the track analysis. So true position the entire circuit. So heavy 9, upgraded actually to a heavy 8 after race 2. So early doors they decided to upgrade that. Stayed in the heavy range, but just went up 1 rating point. And your intel?
Yeah, look, I mean, we sort of said lanes 4, 5 and beyond would provide the bulk of the winners. Every winner was in lane 6 and beyond. In fact, there was only one winner, that being edited by, who was the only leader to win all day, that was in lane 6. Every winner outside of edited by was in lane 9 or beyond, and the last winner was the widest for the day, that being Liberty State out in lane 18. So we did have one leader win. We had 2 horses that settled second, a couple of horses that settled third. So from a positional point of view, I think you could really be anywhere. It was a bit tougher for leaders because the fence was no good. But you could really settle anywhere. We had 4 horses come from more than 3 lengths off the pace at the 600. As I said, 1 leader, 2 horses settling second, 2 horses settling third. I thought the track played beautifully, to be honest with you. I thought all horses got their chance, provided you could handle a wet track and provided you could get away from the inside part of the track.
Beautiful. So that was the track intel of how Rosehill played on Saturday. Punters. Let's get to the hen house. A race you think the market might be attracted to going forward, whether we follow the winner or maybe horses behind it as well that we're going forward to in the next couple of weeks. You've kicked us off. Race 7, you think's a race that we can put in our pocket.
Kurt Gillian, who was one of our tips going into Saturday, he's always shown really above average ability. He came into this race, which was a benchmark 78 with 5 starts, 3 wins, 2 seconds. And I thought he was really good. It was only a soft tempo. They went through the first 600 metres about 4 lengths below standard, and they've really sort of come home. Well, the field's come home okay, only a couple of lengths above, but his last 600 metres was 4 lengths above. He was the only winner all day to break 23 seconds for his last 400 metres, and he did it comfortably. He ran 23.8. So I thought his close to the post was good. He was first up from a spell. If you look at his last 200 metres, it's a bit weaker than the split before that. That's pretty typical, and I reckon he could be in for a good winter. I don't know what James Cummings does with him. Does he sort of try and sneak him into a morning handicap up at Grafton? Is that maybe an option for him? Just with that low domestic rating, I think you're really looking for those handicap-listed races if they do indeed target a Stags race this campaign. Maybe he just gives him another run and then tips him out and goes for an early spring assault with a bit of residual fitness. Either way, I think he's a horse that you can follow going forward.
Beautiful. Good push there for the winner of race 7 at Rosehill. Now let's get to the other side of the coin, just to the doghouse. Again, just possibly one that the market just might take a set against, that we see these horses again. Maybe we can try and find different form line. It was race 8 for you.
Yeah, it was a feature of the day, the Lord Mayor's Cup as well. But I'm gonna say I thought it was a pretty average edition. Yep. Touristic wins, touristic figures were okay. Like, I wouldn't say acceptable, but like I could maybe give it a nudge and make it acceptable. But overall, they went through the first 1,400 metres of this race just a fraction above, and they came home the last 600 metres pretty comfortably below. So for me, they had an opportunity to run decent time and didn't. I know, and this is factoring in the heavy track, by the way, for those tuning into Foxcatcher for the first time, is the winner's last 400 and 200, 23, 76, 11, 98, the worst for the entire day. Now, granted, 2,000 metre race, there was nothing up in that distance range other than the benchmark 78 after it. But I still thought as though, given it was a listed race, given there's some pretty handy gallopers in there, I thought this was a pretty average race and not one that I'm going to be following going forward.
Beautiful. So there's good reasoning around why we might be around that race 8 going forward. So it goes into the doghouse. All right, hits and misses here, Nico, for Rosehill, just from the PointsBet trading floor. So, look, we've got a list there. You can see them come up on the screen. Was there any that you really want to identify for the punters that maybe there was a reason in particular for why this horse was backed? Is that one we can follow, or was the only reason for it to be backed because it was, in essence, its birthday with the way the track was playing and obviously a horse that was suited by wet conditions? Anything you can lean into here?
No, I think generally speaking, there's one, I'll get to in a second, all of them, Boys Night Out, Mickey's Medal, Cormac T, they're all, or particularly the first two I mentioned, they're all genuine wet trackers, and I think that's why the market gravitated towards them. Little Cointro, the key there for the firm was more the drift for Furious, whose wet track data wasn't as good as its dry track data. So even though we did get that upgrade, we're still into the heavy zone. So I think that's why they went for Little Cointro, fit commodity, down the middle, as opposed to the original favourite, Furious, who probably needs it a fair bit drier. Glory Days is a great example. Wetter the better. No wins from 10 runs on dry tracks, 5 from 9 on the wet. That's why they came for that galloper. The one I want to touch on for you to follow, race 10, Weeping Willow. Sectionals say it was his first go for this mare on a really heavy track, or a heavy track. Sectionals say, I think this horse is going to prefer a drier surface. Not dry, but drier. I think she's more of that typical sort of soft track horse. And we do see this a lot now. Trainers with a horse with a good soft track record go, righto, let's have a crack on a heavy. Horse doesn't handle it. So I'm not saying she didn't handle it. That's probably the wrong language to use. But I'm saying I think she'll be better on a softer track rather than the heavier tracks. Look for her to improve.
Really good information there, especially around Weeping Willow. So if we can see that horse maybe on a soft 5 or soft 6, maybe the market will gravitate towards that horse again. That was the hits and misses this week for Rosehill. Okay, flying through this here, Nico. Now in the Fox's Den. So you've identified 4 horses, I think, 3 from Saturday and then 1 from sort of a midweek type of grade race that you can just push the punters into, that when we see them again, they might be worth a bet if they're placed into the right race.
Yeah, it's sort of there's a couple of races I think we can follow out of the last few days in Sydney as opposed to just a horse. I'll take you back to race 5 at Rosehill on Saturday. Now, the winner of the race was King's Secret. He's the brother to Private Eye, who was set to go around in the Kingsford Smith Cup. But of course, it was abandoned on Saturday. Now, Private Eye, when he was coming through the grades, we thought he was a wet tracker. Then we discovered, no, he's a bone dry tracker. But then his most recent Group 1 placing was in the All-Age Stakes on a bottomless track in 2024. So good luck trying to work it out. I can tell you his brother, though, definitely gets through the wet. He's done well here, King's Secret. His overall time was about 5 lengths above standard, or 3/4 of a second inside standard time. He's gone really well. I want to put the caveat on this, though, Jules, is that in winter, the ATC, or Racing New South Wales, run benchmark 72 races on Saturdays. And to the viewers out there, you're going to see some review content. Hopefully you're only watching Foxcatcher.
Yeah.
But if you are watching other people, you might see them. I've seen them a few from time to time saying this benchmark 72 has gone through the roof. It should go through the roof on a Saturday because benchmark 72s aren't always run on Saturdays. They're certainly not run on Saturdays during carnival time. So when you do get these weaker grade races brought into a Saturday mix, you really should see them bust those standards pretty comfortably. So he's done it comfortably, and he's done it with some good late splits. I think I made an error before saying Kerguelen was the only horse to play 23 seconds for his last 400 metres. King Secret did it as well. The second horse in that race, Codetta, is probably even more of a one to follow. This horse was first up from a spell. The pace was fast. They went through the first 500 metres well above standard. And he's had to do a lot of chasing, Codetta. Really good adept wet tracker. Best last 200 metres of the entire day. I think this is a horse, and 400 and 600 for that matter. I want to follow this horse going forward. Outside of those two then from Rosehill on Saturday, Kerguelen is a horse that we've absolutely got to follow. I've already outlined the reasons for him. There's another horse that I want to keep an eye on as well, and that's Hopper. In the hits and misses, we touched on Mickey's Medal, Jules, as well. Hopper is a horse that ran second to Mickey's Medal. Now, Mickey's Medal was up on top of the speed and well supported. Hopper was a bit of a drifter, 7 out to 850, and ran home pretty well, I thought. Overall time was just a fraction inside standard time. The thing about this galloper that makes him the horse to follow is Mickey's Medal was hard fit. This galloper was having his second run this campaign. His ratings suggest that he's on a big upward spiral. He's only having start number 4. I think it's clever placement from Team Snowden to put this horse is clearly up to at least benchmark 72 grade, probably a bit beyond, to try and get some of that benchmark 72 Saturday prize money rather than run him in the midweeks. I think you can follow him going forward. His by Schnitzel was out of a mare called Artistry. It was a pretty handy wet track, and I reckon they've specifically targeted the winter for this horse to come through the grades, and I really like it. And then I want to take you back to Wednesday at Canterbury. The second race there was over 1,250 metres. There's a horse called Gunroom who went straight to the front, hard fit for Joey Pride, brought the best recent ratings to the race, but he's not the horse to follow out of it, had every right to win that race. It's the second and third horse, Indigo Star for Chris Waller and also Crusader Voyage for Chris Waller. Crusader Voyage was on debut, best last 400 metres of the meeting, just peaked on its run late. It's probably going to be the best horse out of the race, but keep an eye out for Indigo Star as well. Best last 200 metres of the meeting, was also first up from spell. Nash in the saddle, was pretty firm in betting, sat outside Gunroom and probably just didn't have that base fitness. He'll improve a stack. His by Zoo started out of that handy mare, Ladies Zhivago. I think they're both two horses you can follow going forward, Julesy.
Beautiful. So there's in the Fox's Den, blackbookers from Nick Ashman, and there's a good array there that we can sink our teeth into. Let's have a look now through the line here. So just some quick questions I'll throw to you, Nico, and the one that probably is the most pressing and the one that you could end up going for a long period of time or go for as long as you want. But the Rosehill vote, it gets knocked over. It ends up being a no, and then the ATC come out and say, well, now we're going to have prize money issues and blah, blah, blah. And then they come out and say none of our members actually go to the races and the races is on the nose, and there's just a lot going on here.
Well, I mean, I think it's poor form from them. I thought they did a terrific job in the carnival, the ATC, to keep it together with all the pressure they were under. And I thought that their performance was probably the highlight of the autumn, if I'm being fair. And I'm not, everyone knows I'm not trying to brown nose them at all when I say that, but I thought the staff did a great job. Where they've gone wrong, obviously, with the no votes, they didn't get the right information out there. As we've said before, Jules, I won't go over it too many more times, but it could be a really good thing for racing, but there just wasn't enough info there. Here's the thing. They've got to come out and establish why we need to sell Rosehill. Obviously, there's financial issues. They need to be transparent with the public and say, this is where we've stuffed up. This is why we've stuffed up. Here's the policy that we're going to introduce to make sure future generations don't make the same mistake as we do. Then after they do that, they need to go to the trainers and sit down with them at Rosehill and make sure every single one of them is okay with moving. Once they've done that, then they come back to the public and say, hey, guys, we've made a boo. This is what's happened. This is what we're doing to make sure it doesn't happen again. Here's the people that's going to impact the most. They're all okay. This is how we can fix their lives. This is how we can fix the problem. And this is what we can do to make sure it doesn't happen again. Once they do that, they might actually get it over the line. But instead, it was just monorail. You know, it looked like one of those hack jobs out of The Simpsons. Yeah. If it is the best thing for the racing industry, then the people that were in charge of pushing the yes vote need to be fired and sacked because they've done a terrible job with it. That's the bottom line. Beautiful. Now, when I come back to you, enough of that political crap for a while. Give me a horse out of Caulfield on Saturday that I can follow going into the spring.
Yeah,
please.
It's just a winter. Well, we're not winter. We are now winter, but it wasn't. I think it was 31st of May. So it was, as we call it, off Broadway. You weren't expecting quality horses to be there, but I thought there were 3, and the market just wanted to be with them. I'll talk to Hutchi a little bit later as well, but in particular, a horse called Big Swinger from Charlotte Littlefield's camp, who actually went up to Sydney and ran in, I think, one of the Group 2s up there, might have been the Arrowfield or something like that, where it was really well supported. I know there was scratchings in the race, ended up running 5th. Come down in here, heavily supported in the red, did have zero luck whatsoever and still had the audacity to be able to win the race. It's got a really good race in it. They look after it. And Neance, who's a horse that we've spoken about a lot, that we really, really love. We just didn't know where she'd probably be at on Saturday. I sort of said you might drift a little bit. She sort of held her price. You know, she's up and about for an Oakley plate or those better Group 1 handicaps. She's going to do some damage. She's an absolute ripper, Neance. So they were the 2. And then another one who's probably just going to be a little bit below them, but a horse called Splashback that was first up over 1,200 metres was outstanding. Again, heavily supported. There's bigger fish for it to fry. So They're the three that I think come spring carnival time, they're going to be running in some big races, and not just going to be running in some big races, but I think they're going to be well supported in the pointy end of the market. So there was a bit to come out of that meeting at Caulfield, which I'll be talking to Hutchi about very shortly.
And two of them were trained by Grahame Begg, both first up as well, Neonce and Splashback. It was his only two runners at the meeting, and I was looking at some stats only on Friday, Jules. He's training at around 30%. His profitability's through the roof. And I think you mentioned it on the preview show, he's probably he's going as well as any stable in at least Victoria, maybe beyond. So it's a good way to wrap this up, actually, Julesy, because he's flying. We spoke about Waterhouse and Bott flying on Thursday as well, and I see that they still, before the meeting, got abandoned up at Eagle Farm and trained a double up there.
Yeah.
One with a bit of a roughie. We also mentioned Chris Muntz was having a good time at present as well. Chris and Corey Muntz training at about 28%, and Cool Archie won the size up there before they abandoned the meeting at about $10, and he was pretty well backed as well. So I don't know what your thoughts are, but sometimes the winter months, I think if you can find stables in form, they really hold their form in these winter months.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And I think they don't drop off, but they just place their horses so well. And it shows probably more in winter than possibly the spring, where you've got really big races. So sometimes they have to try and reach and take a race that might not be in their best interests of the horse just because they need to do it for connections or whatever reason. Grahame Begg stable at the moment is clearly the best stable in Victoria by far. We talk a lot about a James McDonald tax in terms of the prices for when he is riding. I've got no doubt right now in Victoria, bookmakers are putting a pretty big tax on Grahame Begg, but he's still exceeding market expectations. So whatever they're doing is not enough. He's continually just exceeding that market expectation. So he's an outstanding trainer, and he's placing his horses really, really well. So there's a bit in that. Absolutely, I agree with you, especially in the winter months. I think you see it a little bit more, even so, than in spring. We're done and dusted, mate. Well done. I'll see you Thursday. So 3 Group 1s now. It'll be the Oaks, the Derby, and the Kingsford-Smith Cup. And there might be some changes to that Kingsford-Smith Cup because I don't think Private Eye will run, and I think there might be a few others that don't run either because they don't want to have the quick 7-day backup going into the Stratty. So there'll be a bit to work through. I think we go back to Randwick for you for New South Wales. I'm obviously at Flemington headquarters, so I'll see you Thursday for that.
Love you, brother. See you then.
See you, pal. Okay, Ashman out. Main man's back in. Clint Hutchison from racing.com. How are you, my friend? How was the weekend?
Yeah.
The Eagles, they're back.
We're back. Only 40 points we lost, mate, against your mob. But no, it
I was a bit nervous there at the third quarter time.
I enjoyed it.
Episode.
They played a lot better, so I was happy about that. And outside that, you know what? We'll talk about it at the end,
Yes.
but I went to the grand final of the soccer, the A-League.
I did see you there in front of a riot squad with a couple of flares, and I thought, Hutchie's just gone loco. We'll get to the end of that. We'll get that. That's good. I'm really excited for that.
Yeah.
Let's get to the track analysis for Caulfield, mate. So out 8 metres the entire circuit, good forward throughout, and we'll just speaking off air, we both thought it raced really well.
Terrific. It was an awesome track, I think, in terms of being fair, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You could really win from anywhere. Yeah. Good spread of winners in terms of position, where they were in the run. You cover ground. The wind's a big factor at Caulfield, so when it's not too bad or when it's not up, it really helps. But no, I think they've got it going really well. And for this time of year, without any rain around, we're in a good spot.
Yeah, and I think probably early doors I was thinking, geez, I think inside might be off here. But I think Dublin Journal coming back to the inside ended up on the paint probably showed that it was okay as well. I think maybe the horses that were sort of on speed leading were just market expectation wasn't expecting them to win anyway. And you make a really good point, and I think the punters have to get this through their head, and even sometimes some of the jockeys too, especially in the shoot. At Caulfield, there is no issue whatsoever being wide if there is no win, because it is your best friend out there. Because it's just, there's no problem whatsoever. The one bend that's quite lenient. It's beautiful, I think. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, we saw a lot of just that one turn, like you said. I mean, you're still covering more ground. It's not never ideal, but you can do it. You're better off being closer and wider than further back and 100%. Looking for cover.
All right, that was the track intel for Caulfield. Let's get to the hen house. We've got a few races here, Hutch. So I'm going to start with race 2. Now, the winner was Splash Back. Just inside standard time, pretty close, but I love the last 400, 200, just about the best of the day. And the winner comes home 11.35. I want to add a bit of a layering to this is because I couldn't really find this horse at that price. No. And then when I saw it right at the death, I was like, whoa, this is a big, big go. Grahame Begg backs involved. He's a superstar. And it's won like a really nice horse. I think it's probably going to be better at 14, probably to 16. I know they tried to push it to 2,000 metres last prep. I don't think that's its go. But I think 14 to 1,600 metres, the way it won, I think there's plenty more in the tank for this horse.
Yeah, there has to be. It was really interesting actually post-race listening to what Grahame said because he felt that the 1,200 was a better kickoff point. Gee, it wasn't exactly buoyed with confidence. He obviously likes the horse, but there's improvement to come and definitely better over further. And I was with you. I was sort of like, gee, this is short enough. 1,200, is it going to be too sharp?
Yeah.
Couldn't have been more wrong. Market was all over it.
Yeah.
Absolutely nailed it and won well. I don't know if there was much in behind.
I think behind I'm worried about, but this horse, it can continue to progress for sure.
Definitely. 1,400, 1,600, no problems at all.
Nice horse splashback. Let's get to race 3. Winner was Big Swinger. Half a second inside standard time. Again, a little bit softer compared to the last 400, 200 compared to, say, the splashback one, but it's gone a lot quicker as well. This is a really interesting horse. Big number first up. Then they decided to really have a big crack at a big race. I think it might have been the Arrowfield or something up in Sydney, a Group 2 race. And I was like, whoa. But market wanted to be with it. It runs 5th, comes back down, hammered in betting here, which we love, had zero luck, and still had the ability to win.
Yeah, there was excuses in the Sydney race, wasn't it? They crawled and it just didn't really get a crack at them, but it was ambitious.
Yeah, very. I was surprised because I was thinking this horse can win 4 or 5 races before you go to that kind of race, but they went, okay, well, let's just do that. Anyway, it hasn't affected the horse because he's been able to come back down here.
Yeah.
And
the race is rated really well. You just don't see horses do that too often. I mean, it over-raced. It wanted a bit of room. It got held up, got out very late as we know, and yeah, you really were confetti. Your tickets were confetti.
I was like, it can't win.
No.
It just can't win. And
it did.
And
so
it did.
I don't know. I don't know where the ceiling is. And I was listening to the trainer Charlotte Littlefield on radio, and she was sort of, I think that might be the end of prep, and they're going to come back and aim a little higher. But he's a pretty smart horse.
Yeah, no issue seeing him in a group race from now. So, absolutely. The third of our hen houses is another horse that is just got group.
We love her, don't we?
Racing, or she just keeps winning.
Yeah.
Again, I was a bit Saturday. Again, first up 1,100, which I liked compared to say first up 1,200. But I just thought, there's going to be some real fast tempo here. Is it going to get her out of her comfort zone? A couple other factors. I was like, I'm just not 100% sold. I love her, but I don't want to be with her at that price point. She's gone half a second outside standard time, but the last 400, 200 really good compared to the rest of the day. We're talking about Neance, obviously. She's got group class written all over her.
We thought that. She showed that last preparation, didn't she, in that high rating? Yeah. One high rating race that she ran in at Caulfield. Yep. I think a lot of people were keen on her. That said, and we'll talk about the hits and misses, I suppose we might bring up, because she's actually easy to back. Like I was always intrigued to see what the market was going to do with her, but didn't really come strongly for her.
No, they didn't. So she sort of was 270 Thursday, and then there was some deduction, sort of 10, 15 cents, and she still ends up SPing around 260, 270. So there wasn't a big crush for her at all, but you'd think now they were just probably obviously a little bit worried about first up and maybe it was going to be a hard run race. It didn't end up being that way. And now I just think the market's just going to gravitate. Well, if she was okay and sort of still going, I would have backed her on an Oakley plate. That's how good I think she is.
Yeah, I think so too, but particularly she's just putting up big numbers and so well placed. Now, you talked about the Grahame Begg tax. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about that, because you can understand why the market's all over him. I mean, I was looking at his stats the other day in terms of, it doesn't really matter what metric you use, whether you go POT, you're going strike rate, you're going market expectations. He's absolutely knocking it out of the park with all of them.
Yeah.
And like, obviously, how you factor that into your price, I'm not exactly sure how you do that. I'd have to talk to smarter minds than me in terms of how you do it. But you just look at it and you go, well, you can understand why some of these horses are being very well backed and they keep winning. Yeah,
and Splashback was the perfect example for me. So Neance, we know she's got big numbers. Splashback for me didn't have the real big number there that say that mare does. So when it continually was backed and backed and backed, I was like, there's just more to this. They just want to be with this guy, and they just trust his placement of his horses. And so
do you ever follow in when that comes, when that support comes? Are you one that goes, you know what, I'm going to jump on this track?
Yeah, absolutely not. No. But you'd already know the result. So thankfully I wasn't playing in the race. But what I would have done is if I had played in the race and played around that horse, I would have just swallowed the pride and taken the price.
Yeah.
Just to try and get out something. and actually just know that I'm some way square of the ledger compared to just being completely backing a loser, because they ain't missing.
No.
They ain't missing. Like he's just too good for them.
And there are stables where the money comes that you go, they get it right more often than not.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely do say that. But with this guy, but he's doing it now, big sample size, and with a variety of horses, as you mentioned as well. So it's just not 4 or 5. He's got pretty good stable.
Yeah, when I was going through the numbers, and even just the last 100 runners, like it's off the charts good. Yeah. So usually when you identify those trends, it's when it starts to go the other way. But it doesn't. It won't with him. It doesn't seem to be going that way with him.
Yeah, we can stop trains, but we can't stop Grahame Begg. All right, let's get to the doghouse. A race that we're a little bit worried about. We think the market might take it against. It was race 4. It was won by trial by Press. Now they're going outside standard time. Overall, they haven't been able to beat 12 seconds. I know the winners ran 11.77, but I think overall this race, market spits out.
I didn't like the race. There wasn't a margin. There probably couldn't be given the way the race was run, but they didn't run time. The closing sectionals were on the whole, and horse got the right run. I didn't like the race at all.
Yeah, I think the fact that they were outside, as you said, they haven't gone really that hard, and that the fact that they haven't been, as an overall field group, being able to break 12 is very concerning going forward for any of these horses. So, look, well done to Connections on winning the race, but I just think market spits this out. Hits and misses from the PointsBet trading floor here, Hutch. So let's go. Well, Begg. Splashback, $4 into $2.75 hit. It's just him. It's just him, isn't it?
Too good.
Horse can progress. Race 3, big swinger, $2.65 into $1.72. We've spoke about it, that it's going to be a horse that's going to continue to progress. In race 4, they wanted to back a horse called Silver Chief, $26 into $7. Now, it's outside lead. It was the first one gone. I'd be worried about this horse going forward.
Yeah, I was surprised there was that much support for it. I couldn't find it. I had it sort of a lot bigger than that, and ran accordingly. Well, sorry, it ran to its original price, not what it's
correct. Race 5, Medaya, $2.65 into $1.80. This is another one that I was interested in. I really love this horse, but I just thought, I don't know about this one on Saturday. I thought it'd go all the way back and be in a bit of strife from a map perspective, but it overcome that. The race hasn't rated through the roof again here.
It's the second time that she hasn't really done anything special.
Yeah.
And she got a good ride.
Yeah, she did. So, don't know, but look, there's definitely progression in this horse. There's no doubting that. And then the last one in terms of the hits and misses was a horse called Windstorm, $9 into $5. It misses. I think you'd just about have to drop off if you kept back on Windstorm, I reckon.
I could. How has it started $5 in that?
Well,
field?
It's got these old figures, right? These old figures that still people might just keep coming back to and going, if it gets back to this, it wins the race. And it sort of was a weird run because you look at it at the 600 and I was like, geez, I reckon you could have kept the winner of the race, which was the Patrick Payne horse, yellow and blue. How do I not know his name? Jimmy the Bear.
Jimmy the Bear.
Could have kept Jimmy the Bear probably 3 wide, no cover the run with Tom Preble on. I thought, got to keep him wide here. But I don't think Dean Yennon could actually get Windstorm to go any quicker. Yeah. It was sort of like off the bit. And then you look at it and you go, struggling first off the bit. And then you look on the line and it's like, probably the one going the best on the line. It's just a weird run. Don't think it's going to suck.
How many days since it's won? Is it like 1,000 or something?
It's been a few,
1,500?
Yeah, it's been, well, maybe.
Yeah, I have a bar. Once they go about 500 or 600, I'm like, they can win without me.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And you're probably playing in a high percentage play there too as well. It's just one of those horses that's always going to have those figures that's probably just not ever going to get to a crazy price. And it's like, I think it's probably had enough.
Look, we talked about Grahame Begg and probably it's Bedge good, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, maybe some of that. I don't know. Yeah. I was surprised it started $5. There was that run at Flemington a few back. It was a bit unlucky. But
yeah. I think I might have backed it after that one. Then it was really poor. It puts in plain ones, and then this one's a bit of a weird one as well. Anyway, that's the hits and misses this week. All right, setting fire to it, Hutch. This is an interesting one because we're actually going to go back to race 4. All right, so this is the race that we don't particularly like. And I think the punters need to understand this, that there's a horse in this race called Stylish, who, as you can see from the footage here, gets all the way back along the inside here. So it's in a pretty awkward spot in this position here. I want to talk about the fact that we need to be really mindful of unlucky runners in bad rating races. So a lot of people, I think, will look at this horse and go, had no luck here, and we'll be able to continue to watch it because we'll have the footage overlaying what we're talking about here. But the thing is, the race has gone not good. The horses, yes, has had not much luck.
Yep.
But what does that actually mean for next start? That if they meet against horses that, again, are maybe a stronger form line, I don't want to be with that form line in the first place because it's a bad form line. Yes, it was unlucky. You can see here, it was an interesting decision. Like, it goes...
The decision to go back inside when you've done no work early, I think, is a really plain decision. And obviously they're apprentices at this time of year and, you know, they're getting more opportunities. But, it wasn't... If you're on Stylish on the weekend, there was a couple of key decisions that really were pretty poor. But you get that now and again. And I think when you do no work, you get in the running line. It's not that difficult. Yeah. But anyway, like you're right what you say. I mean, the only way you'd follow Stylish again on the back of this one is against same opposition or similar opposition.
Yes.
I think we're both against the race overall. So
and you can see, and you could clearly make the argument that with the right decision makings, it probably wins the race. Right? Now, even if it does win the race, do you want to be with it again next start? Because the race probably still went no good. So that's the interesting one there. You mentioned an interesting point about apprentices next week, which is our last show for this series, Hutch. So I'm going to do some numbers on apprentices because going into winter and these sort of months where it gets a little bit wet, let's really identify some apprentices and we'll throw some numbers out.
You know, it's really interesting. I mean, this race, there's quite a few riding and the lack of pace. And I think that's what you cop a lot when you get a field with some of these apprentices, and we might touch on it next week as well, you know, just in terms of how the race shape will be and things like that. You get a lot of muddling run races 100%. All of a sudden.
You can get a lot of muddling run races and then you can get some that get itchy fingers and then another one has to go with him and all of a sudden they're 15 lengths ahead of benchmark and you're like, what the hell just happened there? I couldn't find a leader and now they're 15 lengths, they're in Toorak and the rest are in Caulfield. What is going on? Correct. That's setting fire to it. Boxers Den here, Hutch. I'll kick us off with just three horses that I think you'll be probably in agreement with because we spoke about it throughout the show, and they were winners. Usually we'll try and find horses that haven't been the winners, but I think in this meeting, which is off Broadway, I think that all these three horses I'm about to mention can be major factors in the spring. And I talk about Splashback, I talk about Big Swinger, and I talk about Neons. And I don't think you'd disagree with probably any of them because we think that
they're very popular and they're going to continue to be popular.
Yeah, and I think we can trust them in better races.
Yes.
Sometimes when they win a race, you go, okay, well that's probably their grade. They've now reached their level. These three horses in particular haven't reached their level yet, and that's really exciting for that. I've got one from a Mornington maiden. It won. It was first up. Wendy Kelly stable. It's called Chocolate Box. And I've got it going really
you like
good.
Chocolate?
Oh, see way ever. I actually had it blocked before I came here. So this is where that was the breakfast this morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to see you maintaining that healthy sort of lifestyle.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? It's a horse that I think gets to 64 or even 70 grade if they wanted to. And you've got a maiden as well.
Got one. Have you ever seen a therapist?
Well, actually, anyway, not today, but it'll be tomorrow. It was yesterday as well. Every 2 days.
Actually, Seymour Maiden, I think it was. Anyway, won well, ran good time, rated well on my stuff. And this horse actually had one run last prep for Team Hawks. Yep. So it was about 250 days off. So, you know, they're happy to usually give them a little bit of time. But it ran fourth in a maiden at Ballarat behind a Big Swinger.
Oh, okay,
actually,
good.
It came out. Look, the inside wasn't great at the track, and it sort of defied the bit of the pattern and ran time on the day. So Therapist is a kind of horse. Now, some of the bigger stables will do that, won't they? You know, sort of a bit off Broadway during the week, Tuesday, you're thinking. But no, this had some substance to it. So I think Therapist is one that we can follow, especially you.
Yeah, absolutely. I need every bit of help I can get. That was in the Fox's Den. We're done, mate, but we're not done.
No, we're not done.
Because AFL continued, you know, we're now 11 rounds in or just 12 rounds in or whatever they are. We've got some buys rolling through. Eagles better. What? Pies clearly ahead? Do we think Pies clearly? I think Pies clearly ahead.
Yeah, they're unbelievable. They're just going so well, aren't they? I don't think there's that many teams that can win it.
Here you go. So, on your favourite show last night, The Furnace, we at Foxcatcher have predicted the home and away top 8.
Oh.
We think Freo can make it. We think the Hawks drop out.
I think that's probably a chance of happening.
Yeah, just from a market situation of going through all the other games, and we know obviously.
Where'd you have the Dogs out of interest? Because the kids will want to know.
3rd or 4th they'll finish. Ooh. So, I think Collingwood, Geelong, because Geelong's run home's pretty cute. So I think
Did you fix that sort of schedule for Geelong? Because it looks like they got a pretty good run.
Yeah, they got a nice run. Chin at GMHBA. It's a beautiful setup. So there, Dogs finished 3rd or 4th, I think. And I think they're a bet actually at the moment. They're about 280, 270 to make the 4. Wow. I think they make the. They've got 9 games at Marvel.
Got a lot of Marvel games.
So they've got 12 games to go because they've just had their bye. I've got them winning 11. just from a market
11?
Well, I think they'll start favourite in 11 of them. The one they won't start favourite in, and that's what we worked it off, was just what they'll start favourite. We know teams get beaten when they're not favourite. The one they won't start favourite in is Brisbane and the Gabba. I wouldn't say they're hopeless in that either.
They're right up there too.
Yeah, correct. So I've got them winning 11 of the 12. But 9 of those games are at Marvel, and I think that suits them very, very well.
Okay.
And this week has to start off because they're playing a team that I think are running out of rat power.
It's
and
pretty,
that's the
it's
Hawks.
pretty hard. I reckon the mid teams are pretty hard to work out. Like,
Yeah,
what do you do with
there's no
St Kilda? What do you do
consistency
with
there.
Melbourne?
Well, that's right. There's no
They're in and out,
consistency
they're in and
there.
out. Like the top
Yeah.
ones are, Geelong Pies. I think the Dogs will go right. You just feel like they might be a little bit short. But
Yeah.
it'll be
If
interesting.
they can get Darcy back, and I don't know where he's at in terms of his fitness and stuff, where he's going to end up, but he gets Darcy back, that gives him a pillar to kick to, and we know how strong their midfield is, and I think their defence is playing better than probably the expectation of what they've got.
Yeah.
Now, tell me more about this Flares.
Oh well, yeah. Well, what a game! I tell you what, the atmosphere was unbelievable.
So, what time are you walking
took all the
along?
kids.
Are you walking along Swan Street with the riot squad?
Yeah, well, actually, I was going to park my car there, and I got a text from a friend who said, maybe not the most advisable sort of setup for you, because I don't go to the soccer all that much.
Yeah.
But no, took the kids, sort of got there. We took the tram, got there.
So,
but
were
I
you
tell
there
what,
early?
about an hour before, but I tell you what, the atmosphere, a lot of race goers there too.
Yeah,
They come and say good day. So hi to everyone. They come and said hi. It was just a great atmosphere.
Yep.
Like I know it was a Melbourne derby and all of that, but there's a lot to be said. That A-League's going okay. I'd definitely go back. I definitely recommend it to anybody who it's Melbourne and sport. Like you got to take
the game itself, though. I heard was a little bit. They got that goal early, and then it was a bit. They might have needed to just start some fights in the
soccer.
crowd.
It's not AFL. I mean,
that's the
AFL's so good to watch live.
Yeah.
Soccer's different, but what made up for it was the chants, the people, the atmosphere. It was really, really good.
Did the kids, are they City or Victory?
They're City
or?
fans.
Oh,
and
that's
I tell you
good.
what,
Oh,
it
no
was
wonder
very
you've
good.
come in
and
bouncing
we
about.
didn't get bashed on the way home.
That's the show, guys.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.